for most of us, most sex we will have will be with a long-term partner. And you know, it always made sense to me that the longer we are with somebody, especially with somebody we love, with a real life partner, then surely we should expect sex to become better. Certainly better than just with a random that you have just met. And of course, for many people, it is the opposite. So I heavily researched the causes and the solutions in my consultancy over the last 20 years with a particular focus on sex with long-term partners. And most of my clients were either with a long-term partner or they wanted to be. I discovered that the mainstream sex advice does not understand long-term partner sex completely. The practice of it doesn't exist. And all the mainstream sex advice is actually counterproductive and corrosive to long-term sex life. And over this time, I worked with thousands of clients one-to-one on this, who are helped to transform to a new level of their sex life. Basically, my aim has been so far to give people an advanced tantric quality of sex, but for every person, for daily life, in a simple, relatable way that also makes their life easier. This video explains the blueprint. How sex with a long-term partner really needs to work in order to remain consistent, sustainable, never die out, keep growing with your relationship, but also to give you a better experience than what people normally access with mainstream sex advice. The first thing that needs to happen is that you need to focus on what is really important and valuable for you in sex with your partner. If something is not valuable, we simply will not spend time on it. Sex is very important for us in our relationships, but we are often not focusing on the real important values in it, and we are focusing more on getting the superficial values in sex, which are given to us by our culture. And then sex appears less valuable, less important, so we don't have time for it. If you think that your sex life in your relationship has to give you physical pleasure, fun, and excitement, this is not valuable enough and your sex life will most likely be abandoned. In our times, there are too many pleasures and different kinds of entertainment that are frankly much more interesting, and sex cannot compete with them. Because that is not the strongest value of sex, because it is not meant to compete with entertainment. That is not the actual power of sex for you, and that is not why you really want sex in your heart. Your sex with a partner in your relationship has to give you an experience of love, connection, and nourishing energy. And I mean this in broadest terms. Love in different expressions, but loving each other, filling up with love in your life. Connection in different expressions, but feeling that connection, that togetherness with your lover. And by energy, I mean just in broadest terms, an experience that nourishes you and enriches you in a real way. Something that you can really feel as enriching in your life and not just entertainment. Now, it is not that you will not feel pleasure or excitement. You will feel far more pleasure and blissfulness and different kinds of arousal than before when your sex also has that substance of love and connection and nourishment and enrichment. But on its own, just having a bit of fun and a bit of physical sensation will not fulfill you. You will not spend time on it. The pleasure and the arousal will come by itself in buckets when your sex has a real substance. And only then will you feel that sex is really important for you to maintain, because it really changes your quality of life and your relationship. So you've got to become aware of it. You've got to focus on it in sex, on receiving that value, on creating that value. This can't be just words. This has to be a real technique. A technique that just gives you pleasant sensation, and fun is not going to give you that experience of love and connection and nourishment. So the actual practice of sex has to deliver those values to you, and that means refurbishing how you have sex. Can sex sometimes be just about simple fun and excitement? Of course it can. There is a day in the mood for everything. You can include everything, but you also need to be mindful that overall you get proper nutrition and real value. So this is a concept of a healthy and balanced diet, which I will explain later in the video. Now, this video is actually outtakes from my complete free guide, The Blueprint for a Sustainable Everlasting Sex Life. You can actually download the full guide completely for free. Just follow the link below the video in the description. Secondly, your sex life has to be a mixture of high energy sex and low energy sex. This is a fundamental practice for a relationship sex, essential. You can't have high intensity passionate sex all the time, only when it comes naturally from a state of natural high energy. That will happen, but in a long-term relationship, in a daily life, with all of its challenges, you have to complement it with what I call low energy sex. Low intensity, relaxed, doesn't take a lot of energy or physiology, it is not taxing on your system. Very easy, but it is really nourishing and blissful and really enriching and revitalizing, and you feel immense love and connection in that kind of sex, even more so than in high intensity sex. It also builds up and restores your sexual energy faster for that high intensity sex. Probably the most important principle: nothing needs to happen. This is your mantra. Nothing needs to happen. All that needs to happen is that you spend some time together filling up with love, connection, and nourishing energy. How that happens doesn't matter. It really doesn't, as long as you receive that. If you're high on energy, you want to do something really erotic and passionate, do that. If you are low on energy today, you relax, you do something really revitalizing and nourishing. If your genitals are aroused, you can do something with the genitals, or you can have intercourse. If that feels like too much for you today, don't. Enjoy making love by exchanging through the contact of your bodies. There's a lot of enrichment that can happen there, even without the genitals. If you have an erection, have a full-on sex with erection. If you don't have an erection, have really beautiful sex without erection. It can be absolutely wonderful, but that makes sex really easy. It's not this intimidating, overwhelming, big whole job you have to do every time. Arousal and stimulation and oral and intercourse and orgasm this way, orgasm that way. You have to leave sex flexible. It is so important. It has to adapt to what you've got today, what you can do today. Sex is just some time that you spend in some enriching energy, love, and connection. Sex can be with intercourse, without the intercourse, with intensity, without intensity, just involving the genitals without the intercourse, just involving the genitals softly, having an orgasm or filling up without the release, even without involving the genitals completely. All of this is sex. Why? Because in each case, you have spent time together, exchanging that nourishing energy, that love, that connection, and it has enriched you. How it happens doesn't matter. I'm not saying they are all the same experiences and they feel the same like full sex. Of course they are not. They are different experiences. They are different kinds of energy. And that's what is so beautiful. You naturally have lots of different kinds of experiences by just going with your energy, by adapting to it today, instead of trying to force the exact same sequence that you think should be happening. Today you're only going to have this experience of this kind, but altogether over a period of time, you're going to have everything. Honestly, you will be surprised how the different kinds of sex that you want will happen more easily when you don't obsess with them, you don't put pressure on, you just allow yourself and your partner to be. But it's not enough just to say, I don't care, because that's not going to work. You need to have a working alternative. Another kind of sex you can have instead that will also be great. Nothing needs to happen, because if it is not happening naturally already, then it probably isn't right for you today. You would be pushing it, you would be forcing it, and something else is more right for you today. Nothing needs to happen, because all energy is good energy and beautiful energy. Nothing needs to happen, because whatever didn't happen today will happen another day, if you leave sex flexible, and that means it will be frequent enough. So this video is actually the first part of a free guide that I have for you. The guide is called The Full Blueprint to a Sustainable Everlasting Sex Life. I didn't put the full guide here, just a part of it, but you can get the complete guide absolutely for free. There is a link below the video in the description, and in that complete guide we cover the rest of the topics that are important for creating that, plentiful, sustainable, effortless sex life in your relationship. The things that were not included in this video: how you can manage the issue of desire much more productively, much better, much more effortlessly, the really important shifts that you need to make about orgasms to really empower your sex life and the risks that you need to avoid there, how to fit your sex life into your busy life productively and consistently and frequently, but more effortlessly, how to leave space for everything and enjoy all kinds of sex, but at the same time be mindful about the real nutrition in it. So all of these topics are further covered in the complete guide, and I really recommend you getting it. It's only over 20 minutes long, but it will give you the entire map, the entire blueprint, how your sex life can last forever and never fizzle out, and how you can avoid the common pitfalls that stop sex lives in most relationships. So like I said, get it by following the link below the video.